Good morning, students. Yesterday I had started this poem, A Prayer for My Daughter by W.B. Yeats. And I told you a few things about W.B. Yeats, the poet, that he was born in the year 1865 and lived up to 1939. And in between, he composed certain masterpieces which are antholorized worldwide. So, A Prayer for My Daughter was a poem which he wrote for his daughter Anne Butler Yeats in 1919, and it was published in his collection called Michael Roberts and The Dancer. So, from that collection, this poem is prescribed in your course. As I told you even yesterday, that his daughter was born in the year 1919, and just after a couple of days he composed this poem. She was hardly 2 days old when he composed this poem, A Prayer for My Daughter. The year 1919 is important in the history of 20th century and the world, because that was the year when the First World War ended, and the bloodshed and the violence which was let loose during the First World War, that was there. The agony, the despondency was hovering over the mind of the poet when he composed this poem. He begins a poem, it has got a few stanzas. He begins the poem with a very casual incident. He is just walking up and down, roaming in that particular room where his daughter is lying in a cradle, and he thinks and visualizes the future of his daughter, that how would be the years to come for her, and then he makes a prayer to God for his daughter. As I told you, that the poem is more of a wish than a prayer, because he is wishing for a better value-oriented life for his daughter in future. So I did the first stanza yesterday. Once more the storm is howling and half hid under the cradle hood and coverlet. My child sleeps on. There is no obstacle but Gregory's wood and one bare hill, whereby the haystack and roof levelling wind, bred on the Atlantic, can be stayed. And for an hour I have walked and prayed because of the great gloom that is in my mind. So this was the first stanza, and then he begins the second one. I have walked and prayed for this young child and heard the sea wind scream upon the tower, and under the arches of the bridge and scream in the elms above the flooded stream. Imagination is in excited reverie that the future years had come, dancing to a frenzied drum out of the murderous innocence of the sea. Now just see the repetition of the line, I have walked and prayed for this young child an hour. In the first stanza, he had written, and for an hour I have walked and prayed. So this repetition suggests that the poet is disturbed. He is disturbed about the future of his daughter. So there is a kind of restlessness which is hinted at in this very repetition. And for an hour I have walked and prayed because of the great gloom that is in my mind. I have walked and prayed for this young child an hour. For the last 1 hour he has been just walking up and down in the room, and heard the sea wind scream upon the tower and the howling storm at the gates of his house, at the windows of his house. They were disturbing him, and under the arches of the bridge, there is some bridge, some river or some lake or a stream, and under the bridge, under the arches of the bridge and a stream, in the elms, trees, name of trees, In the elms above the flooded stream, imagination in excited reverie that the future years had come. And now he visualizes. It is a kind of a reverie because he's not asleep. He's not dreaming. It is a kind of daydreaming that he thinks about the future years for his daughter, imagining in excited reverie that the future years had come, dancing to a frenzied drum out of the murderous innocence of the sea. Now, the year 1919 was traumatic indeed because the world had undergone a lot of violence and bloodshed. But as a poet, W.B. Yeats feels that the future from 1920 onwards for mankind would be even more traumatic, more disturbing, more violence-ridden than what it had been before. So therefore he says that the future years had come. He is a visualizer, he is a dreamer, and he visualizes the future times which would befall on this planet and on this mankind, that the future years had come, dancing to a frenzied drum, ecstatic, frenzied drum. The world would be full of noises, would be full of crowds of people without purpose, lives of people without purpose, and there would be a kind of orgy, there would be a kind of anarchy which would be let loose by the coming years out of the murderous innocence of the sea. The sea, which appears to be innocent, is actually murderous. So that murderous innocence of the sea refers to the future mankind, humanity, which would be violence-ridden, which would be fanatic and not caring for ancient traditions and customs and values of life. May she be granted beauty and yet not beauty to make her a stranger's eyes distraught. May she be granted beauty. From here onwards, the element of prayer or wish begins the poem, where he prays to God that may she be granted beauty and yet not beauty to make a stranger's eye distraught. But her beauty should not be murderous, she must be beautiful, certainly, but she may not be as beautiful, perhaps, as Morgan was for W.B. Yeats, because Yeats believed in the concept of destructive beauty, murderous beauty, and this murderous beauty is symbolized in the persona of Morgan. So somewhere at the back of his mind, he is having the image of his lost love, not lost, he is still loving her. His love that was Morgan, lifelong passion, lifelong obsession of W.B. Yeats as a poet. So somewhere he is having the image of Morgan in his mind when he is praying to God for beauty to be granted to his daughter. May she be granted beauty and yet not beauty to make a stranger's eyes distraught or hers before a looking glass. She should not be repulsively beautiful, she must be sweetly beautiful. She must not get repelled when she looks up in the mirror, her own image. She must not have any sense of guilt, any guilt conscience when she looks up in the mirror. Well, this is for today. Tomorrow I will continue with the third stanza onwards. Thank you.